I want you to say your name correctly because I do my best, but I don't know. I still feel like, okay, Tsikki?
I think you're saying it great. Tsikki, like pizza.
Tsikki.
You put the T and the S together like...
I love it. Okay, Tsikki.
Yeah.
Perfect. Excellent. Well, I'm so excited to have you here because we've had some great conversations.
I'm
myself.
Yeah. Thank you.
And can we tell the audience what this is for you tonight in particular?
Sure.
You want to share?
That it's my first live?
Yes.
And my first live on Instagram, period.
So awesome. I love it. So great.
This is fun.
It is, isn't it? I know. And welcome to those who have joined. So, first of all, let's hear a little bit about you. I started talking a little bit about you before we came on board here with the call together, and I would love to have you share a little bit about what you want to tell the audience about you today.
Wow. I'm so used to talking about other people. When it comes to you, I get stuck like me. You want to know about me? Thank you. I'm a stress management expert, a meditation teacher for over 30 years. I'm passionate about teaching people how to breathe and how to stay calm, especially in panic situation or in stages of trauma and stress, and also to let people know that they're never, ever alone. They have someone always to listen and lift them up and get them to that point of happiness again.
And you're so good at it. You make people feel so calm just in your presence. So I love having you around.
I love you, Karen. I just love you. I think our connection is just magical.
I agree. Thank you. So let's talk about being comfortable in your own skin and think about what tips can we offer the listeners here. And I also meant to tell you, for anybody that just I know this is normally something that I would say offline, but most of the time what I find is that people listen to this after the fact rather than during, just so you know. Okay. So even though it might seem like, oh, wow, we only have a handful of people, the majority of people I find will watch it afterwards. So just know that your message will reach many more than what it seems in this moment.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So I'd love to know what that means to you, because I know we had talked in advance, or you had shared some thoughts about what you wanted to talk about today, and that confidence to you is about being comfortable in your own skin. So can you elaborate on that a little bit more for us?
I believe that being confident really has to do with life experience and how you really feel about yourself versus how you look. I think how you feel is projected out to your presence, and the freshness that comes with it is really comes inside of that feeling. Life experience, meaning you come to a point where you just say yes to yourself. It's a big yes. You don't worry so much about what other people think or how they feel. You don't worry about the outcome. You just become more authentic with who you are, and it comes with a belief system, having faith in what you do. No matter if all the doors are shut, I always believe there's one open. And if you just put yourself in that place where I believe, and that would brought me confidence, because I started believing, I don't need to get validation anymore because I am.
I love that. And you and I have a similar story from the perspective of not needing the validation anymore. And in fact, I wanted to share something that happened with me recently, because I realized, for a lot of us that are working on our personal growth, we don't recognize our growth until we're put back in a situation where we acted differently than we would have in the past before that growth. And you may know that I am a speaker coach for TEDx Minneapolis, and I was listening to the speakers' run-throughs for the first meeting where they're doing their talk for the first time, and there are a group of probably 8 of us that are giving them feedback.
Wow.
And I know. Talk about pressure, right?
Yeah. No kidding.
I know. But here's where the growth happened for me, because normally I realized it at about lunch that day, and I thought, oh, I just jumped in right away and gave my thoughts without doing what I would have done in the past, years back, where I would, tiptoe around, listen for everybody else to give their thoughts first, and then decide if I felt that it was safe enough for me to say what I wanted to say, and not without rocking the boat, or, just always being worried about what other people think. And I'm telling you, it was so liberating. And I feel like that was really indicative of being comfortable in my own skin.
I love that. And I love that you share that. And I do relate to what you just said tremendously. And being outside of our comfort zone is powerful, because one of my very good friends, he's like the #1 historian in this country.
Wow.
So nervous. I was literally having an anxiety attack. And he said, Tsikki, it's not about you. Just share what you got. Let your belief system take over. And I said, duh. You're
That's perfect. I love that. Let your belief system take over. That's beautiful.
It's really not about us. It's the gift that we have to share with others. And that's, I believe, is the purpose.
Wow. Yeah, this whole idea of, how we get so tied up in self-doubt, in wondering what people think, am I good enough, all of these things particularly that we as women face. I know men do as well, and other genders, but obviously that's really my specific focus. And I love your story, and I know we don't have time to go into depth on it, but would you share...
Thank God.
Will you share one major challenge and how you overcame it?
I'm having so much fun with you right now. I will say that I was told no most of my life. No. Dream on. Impossible. That no, I started saying that no means yes. No means yes. And yes is beautiful. And I'm going to say yes to myself. No matter how much you've been crushed, your heart physically, mentally, spiritually, you've experienced pain. And my best advice is to make friends with your pain. Because pain becomes your greatest teacher. And if you can transmit pain as a healing tool for others and upliftment and share who you are without holding back, that's what people want. People want to feel and go through their process and their pain with you. And that's what I did.
That is powerful, and that is not something that most people say. Nobody wants to feel pain, and yet the making friends with it part, I love that, because going back to what you said about the comfort zone and how leaning into pain, I love that phrase, like pain with purpose. Yeah. And I think that is such an incredible way to look at it, and what an empowering way to look at it, because so many of us live in this victim stance.
Absolutely. It's that victimized, I tell my clients, I give you 30 seconds to 3 hours to get over that victimized state of poor me. How could this happen to me? Not disregarding what you're going through, but let's raise it up. Let's level here and move to the next place and space in your life where you can start celebrating your life instead of crying over it.
Oh my goodness. I love that you have 30 seconds to 3 hours. So how do you monitor that?
I do. I give them that time. And then if they don't come back with this, I'm doing this, I want to heal, then I've got nothing to say.
What an incredible boundary that you have set. And
thank you. I think when the pain shows up, whether it's emotional or physical, say hi to it first. I acknowledge you. Teach how to teach. I'm here as your student. Let's work together. And really, it's no dwelling, just healing.
I love that. I mean, I'm taking this in. I hope everybody listening is also taking this in. This is not something that you hear most of the time. And this is what I so appreciate about you too, is your depth and your willingness to go to these places, because you have had so many challenges that were out of your control in your life.
You're right.
And I feel like, yeah, I'm sure it must be challenging sometimes when you hear people complaining about other things and you're going, oh my gosh, please.
Please, girl, let's move on, or son, because it's good for them to vent. I believe in venting because releasing verbally is another great tool to heal. But after that, okay, you've had your moment. Let's move on.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's where the healing is, isn't it? That leaning in, and then the process of, I would imagine also, at least from my experience, it's the leaning in, acknowledging the pain, and then moving to a place of acceptance so that you can grieve those losses and then open yourself up to new things.
Right, absolutely.
What do you think about that?
I think what you said is very powerful, because then what is the point? Do you think you're here to just suffer, or do you have to show that you're capable of so much more? You are a valuable person. There's only one of you. There's no there's no competition.
Right?
There's only one of you. So do something with it.
Yes. Well, let's talk about some of your best tips. What would you say to give us a tip or two around how to deal with stress?
I would say number one, don't take your breath for granted. That is the one thing that most people take for granted, because they already know the next breath is coming until it doesn't. So breathing is valuable. So when you wake up in the morning, just really put your hands on your heart and say, I cannot believe I'm alive. I'm alive. My heart's beating. And that's when you start taking a couple deep breaths and you're acknowledging that you're breathing. And that way, you're already in that state of calmness, a positive state. You're ready to start your day and show up. Is take breaks, me time. If you're not balanced, if you're not centered, how are you going to operate? How are you going to perform? So even if you're in a big corporation, it doesn't matter where you are, bathroom breaks, anything helps. And take those breaths again and acknowledge that your presence is valuable.
Wow. Isn't it amazing? I mean, I know you do this for a living. Sometimes I'm astonished at how simple this is.
It's simple.
Most of us don't do it.
They don't do it. And they look at me, this is what I'm paying for? Yeah, you're paying.
Well,
and
you're reminding...
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. You.
I think also don't be afraid to look in the mirror and say, hey, I love you. You're the best.
Aw. That's so beautiful.
Yeah. Show me how comfortable people are doing that. They're not. A lot of people run away from the mirror. But that's being proud of yourself, being proud of your achievement, being excited to perform, to show up, to teach others, to help others, or just do what you do. So you got to love yourself too.
You're making me think about a leadership group that I was in, and one of the women went through a really horrific divorce. And she said exactly what you're talking about. She was so uncomfortable with the exercise that her therapist gave her to look in the mirror and say, I love you, beautiful. And she said that she did it because that was what was recommended. And after about 2 weeks, she started believing it. But she said, I can tell you, I felt so weird and awkward doing that. But I love that you're bringing that up.
Thanks, Karen. I can only imagine how she felt, because most people have reported to me that they felt like total strangers. And that's how awkward they feel within themselves, which shows you that they don't believe in what they do and who they are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think there's a real thing. I remember a woman I used to work with who had such a hard time empathizing with people. And I found it really fascinating, because she was a nice enough person, but I found it fascinating. Wow, she's so bad at empathy. I mean, she just would dismiss people and that kind of thing. And I came to the conclusion that it was so hard for her to connect with her own pain and the challenges, because I know she had had a lot of pain in her life. And I wonder if, I mean, do you think that might have related to her inability to connect with others because she couldn't connect with herself?
I would say yes and no, because first you have to have the willpower to change and the willpower to heal. And I've encountered with many people that are not. I've literally grabbed them and held them, just hug them, because they don't know how to receive.
Wow.
But you can demonstrate, not through words, not through advice, just through action, where there's nowhere else to go and they have to receive that love. That's that breaking point where they start to let go, from my experience.
Wow. I mean, talk about a vulnerable and powerful thing. That is incredible of what you're doing. I mean, I'd love for you to hold me for a while.
I'm going to hold you on, and we'll have a mirror party with the.
Well, I love, these are such simple tips that anybody can do. And when you talked about you reminded me of my chiropractor had once shared with me about, like, when you're feeling anxious and you need to be grounded for whatever, just even if you're feeling anxious before a presentation which is what I teach people a lot, putting, like you said, that hand on your heart. I think she had said, put your hand on your heart and your stomach and kind of rub it to help you get grounded. I don't know. Again, that was one thing, but I remember that was very memorable for me. And everything that you teach is also very memorable because it's simple and powerful.
It is, and it's connecting. You got to connect to something. If you can't connect to another source or force, connect with yourself, and then have the answers within. Absolutely, I believe. Just taking the time for yourself.
And it sounds like a lot of people, kind of what you alluded to already, are either unwilling or they don't know how to connect with themselves. Can you speak to that a little bit more?
The reason they don't know how is because they lost faith in the possibility, in the idea that they can. They've gone through so much. Life has taken them down, or they blame life or whatever that was against them. But if they only take a moment to say that I'm still here, why am I here? Well, here's you have to understand that you're here for a powerful reason, and that your purpose is why. Share your story. Turn it into a miracle. Turn it into something magical that someone else can connect with you and their children, perhaps. And that story can become the best storytelling ever. To be shared. People need to stop holding in and being afraid.
Isn't that the truth? Well, I feel like that's a really good place to wrap up, because I of course, I want to keep talking to you. I feel like let's dive into this deeper.
A party.
I love it. Well, is there anything that I haven't asked you yet that you would like to share or add to the listeners?
I think we covered quite a bit, but if people can take just more time to breathe and maybe learn meditation, it doesn't have to be 30 minutes or 20 minutes or sitting in this pose. Just acknowledge that your heart is beating, and take deep breaths and continue your life with long breaths.
Long breaths leads to
long life.
That was very memorable. From the first time that we met, Tsikki, on that panel, I thought, dang, I want to make sure that I have a long breath and a long life.
Sure.
Because then what you said right after that is what got me. Can you say that part? Short
breath, short life, long breath, long life. And it's true. If you take a deep breath and it stops right here by your heart, that means your stress level is super high. So continue taking deep breaths. Another thing, watch how you're eating. The faster you eat is the faster you think. So you got to slow down a little bit so you can be more aware with the stress levels of your body.
Oh my
Because you want to stay fun.
So I guess then that I should make sure that I eat these very slowly.
Oh no, I can't believe what a tease.
Just kidding. I was sitting at the training today like, oh, I want to get one of those to take home with me. Then I ended up with 4 to take home with me.
That's over.
But I really do want to say the part about the mindfulness. I was working with a nutritionist, the mindful eating, and she said something about chew your food 25 to 30 times. And that seems like an incredible amount of time. I'd say if I'm lucky, if I get to 20.
But I'm not trying to disregard what she says, but the thought of counting how many times I chew my food really stresses me out.
Okay, so you don't recommend that?
For discipline purpose, yes, or training military style, I say yes, I've done that before. But I think being aware I'm healthy.
Okay.
I am healthy. I am beautiful, I am fit, I'm healthy, then your body and your brain starts to record those suggestions and you slow down because that brings you to the present moment.
Oh, that's so good. That's so good. I needed to hear this today. Thank you, Tsikki.
Donuts. Share them.
All right, slow down. Long breath, long life. Short breath, short life. Anything else you want to add?
I love you.
Aw, I love you too.
In person and hug you, and I hope that somebody out there heard this and got valuable information and they can love themselves more.
Yes, agreed. Well, thank you for coming on the show tonight. I'm so excited about our connection, and this is going to touch a lot of people. You're doing such incredible work, and you have such a beautiful spirit along with the work that you do. So I am grateful for you.
Karen, takes one to know one, and you continue being beautiful and inspiring others. And wow, you're just unbelievable at what you do, and whoever crosses your way is very blessed.
Well, thank you. I feel the same way about you.
Thanks, Karen.